started out 9-2. You remember that. And then they lost 6 in a row, won 2 in a row, lost 3 in a row, won 1, lost 5 in a row, won 3 in a row, lost 3 in a row, won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 2, won 2, lost 1, won 2, lost 2, won 2, lost 2, won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 1. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. And this is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Blue Jays 5, Pirates 4 yesterday in Toronto. And it was the latest lost 1 after a 1-1 or a lost 2 after a 1-1. This is who they've become. When you're talking about an identity for this team, this is as close as it gets because they don't really do anything. They don't nosedive. They don't collapse other than offensively on occasion. They don't really go into long losing streaks because they have the 4th best starting rotation, statistically speaking, in all of Major League Baseball. So what are they? I legitimately believe that the answer is that they're delusional. And I don't know of another way to put it. It's not mean. It's not personal. I've never, ever had a negative encounter with Ben Cherington, Derek Shelton, or pretty much anybody associated with this front office, field staff, players. But when you have the person running baseball operations saying insane things like, and this came from the mouth of Ben Cherington yesterday on his weekly radio show, quote, "We think we're better than we were at this point last year. Whatever the record is, whatever the standings were, we think we're a deeper team. We think we'll continue to get better over the course of 2024. This team, my friends, this is me now, is 27-32. It's 5 games under 500, obviously. It's nowhere near, as in 9 games back of the Brewers. 9 games back, in 4th place in the Central out of 5 teams. 1 game ahead of the last place Reds. The Pirates of a year ago were in 1st place. They were over 500. They were in 1st place as late as June 15 of 2023. That's 2 weeks from now on the annual calendar. That's delusion. And as I keep sharing with you, that's delusion that's based on surrounding yourself with people on the inside who concoct formulas that they share with each other to make themselves feel better, when in fact, the only statistic, and I don't even mean this in some, old school, throw the clock back kind of way, the only statistic that actually counts is wins and losses. For this particular conversation, when you're getting into something of a serious scope, and you're talking about performance, and you're talking about production, it's just wins and just losses. And this team loses more than it wins. And when it wins because somebody has a really good start and the offense actually comes around for a day. And then when it's not one of those starting pitchers, it just kind of falls back, 2 steps backward. But wait, there's more from the general manager's show. Cherington said, and again, I quote verbatim here, "You think about the rotation, the bullpen, team defense, and team offense. For those other 3, there have been stretches during this season where each of those other proponents has performed well, but there have also been stretches where we haven't gotten a good performance from those groups. We probably haven't gotten every part of the roster clicking kind of all at the same time. That's certainly what we're working toward." Okay, no. Okay, you can't. hide or obfuscate for the purposes of hiding or obfuscating what's spectacularly obvious to anyone with even a modicum of knowledge of the game of baseball. It's not the bullpen, the team defense, and the team offense. It's the offense, period. The rest of the stuff is just whatever. You know, the bullpen hasn't been great. The bullpen's had some strengths. It had some weaknesses. The defense has been there sometimes. It hasn't at other times. But this is what they do within this delusion. They all talk like this. It's not just Cherington. They all talk like this. Where they say, the offense is, it's one of the things that's going wrong. Because that, in their minds, takes the pressure off. They don't have to make the external moves that Cherington clearly doesn't want to make. They don't have to change the philosophies. They don't have to fire people. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to do anything other than to say, just get better. But wait, there's more. Cherington said that he has begun to, quote, look around, end quote, for possible additions from the outside. He said he feels that the team's kind of got a grasp on what its strengths and weaknesses are and ideas of how they can do things to make the roster better. Quoting directly again, it's part of the season where most of getting better comes from the guys that are here, the guys that are already wearing a Pirates uniform in Pittsburgh or our guys in the minor leagues. End quote. This is what general managers say anytime anybody brings up the idea of making acquisitions in, May or early June. They'll always say that there's no market, there's nobody out there making moves, everybody thinks they're still in it, and all this other stuff. And yet, it's so easy to counter with all kinds of moves that do get made. Yes, they're uncommon. Yes, they're more likely to occur in July in advance of the trade deadline. No, it's not impossible to make one. And when you say publicly, as you just heard Cherington do, at least with me paraphrasing it, that you've just begun to look for outside help, honestly, I don't even know what to say anymore. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. Today's J1Q comes from Peter, who says, DK, do you think Quinn Priester would be a good option as a long reliever? He has good numbers until batters see him multiple times on the same day, so if he only sees the lineup once or twice, he might be very effective. That sounds good, Peter, and I know that that's the standard reflex when it comes to a starting pitcher who doesn't get through the lineup multiple times. That's been the standard reflex for a long, long time in baseball. I'll come back at you with a question. Who's the Pirates' long reliever right now? Who is it? Who was it last year? Who is it with any team that you see? And if you answer Luis Ortiz, you can do that, except that Luis really hasn't been used in that regard. He was the other night in Toronto and did really well with a 3-inning save, but I don't think anybody casts Luis in that role. I don't think I've heard anybody associated with the Pirates call him a long reliever. And I wonder, within this hypothetical question that I just asked you back, if there really is even such a thing or a need for such a thing in modern baseball. Or if there is, what's the point? Because if you think about this, the rotation has been tremendous. But to cite the one negative, and that's really just been the last couple starts that Martin Perez had before getting hurt, he's really the only example you can cite where you say, all right, Perez was knocked out of the game a little early and you're going to bring in somebody who's your long reliever. Well, chances are really, really good that by the time you bring that player in, it's going to be like 5-0, 6-0 already. So who cares if Priester's good or bad at it? It's a mop-up role. It's a rubber arm role. It's a Dwayne Underwood Jr. role, to put a name to it, where even if you're good at it, it doesn't matter. You're just buying your manager some innings. So if Priester's the long reliever, which is not an ideal circumstance for a first-round pick, who a lot of people thought had some significant pedigree coming out of COVID, and your reason for that is that he can't, do something different with his delivery or his release point or his pitch tunneling or something that helps him not look as predictable or as easy to read by hitters once they've seen him the first time, then by putting him in the Dwayne Underwood Jr. role, you're just basically saying he's done. He's toast. With the way this team is structured, with the way the pitching staff specifically is structured right now, it's unfair to all four of the other starters to project that they're going to be absolutely brilliant every time they go out. Jared Jones just showed that in Detroit. But generally speaking, between Jones and Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller and Bailey Falter, more often than not, you've been getting, 6 innings, 7 innings. The Pirates rank 4th in Major League Baseball in innings out of their starting pitchers. So I really don't care what Quinn Priester can do in that regard. I do care about the instruction and the development that leads to a pitcher having an arsenal of 5, sometimes a 6th pitch, and not being able to get people out after the 3rd inning. I care a lot about a pitcher who was basically weaned away from his fastball. That was one of the reasons that he was so high on the prospect rankings. And as a result, he kind of lost some of the zip on the fastball, and he definitely lost his leaning on the fastball. That's just flat out lousy from the pure standpoint of development. And I'm not bringing this up now. I've been bringing it up for years, including when he was still in the minors. So before we wonder whether or not Priester should be a long reliever, or even if long relievers are still a thing, I'd try to fix Priester, I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll do another one of these tomorrow.